Hi everyone, I'm Aissatou. I'm a rent-to-rent Airbnb property owner, and I just wanted to share my story in this video. So I'm going to show you how exactly I built my business from scratch while still working on a corporate job without owning an investment property and without any investors. So I started 5 years ago during COVID with just one idea, the idea to create financial freedom without quitting my job, really. 5 years later, I have built a rent-to-rent Airbnb portfolio across a number of cities, all whilst working a 9-to-5 job. I managed to scale from 0 to 15 properties in 18 months. Got a lot of no and rejections though along the way. I sourced many deals for other investors, and now I help landlords and beginners who are also working on a corporate job to build a profitable short-term rental business, step by step, process by process. So let me start with this. You don't need to own a property to start a rent-to-rent Airbnb business. You don't need to be rich, and you don't need to quit your job for that, nor be a social media influencer. You need an entrepreneur mindset, however. You need systems and you need strategy. You need the right knowledge, and you need to make sure you have the right offer to the landlords as well. I built everything through rent-to-rent Airbnb, which means I rent properties from landlords. I furnish them, I refurbish them at time, and then I list them on Airbnb and keep the profits. So that's minus rent and expenses. So I'll break it down for you, how I found my first unit, how I scaled, and how I manage it all while still working full-time. So the way I started, it was about 5 years ago, as I said, in 2020, during lockdown, working remotely. And like a lot of people, I was questioning everything. I really just wanted more freedom, really, and more agency over what the direction how things were going. I wanted an income that didn't depend on my time necessarily. So I started researching Airbnb and rent-to-rent, not from a tourist perspective, but as a business. And I found many stories of people making a big amount of money with just renting properties from others and operating them successfully through system on Airbnb. That's how I started. I had my first unit was in Basingstoke. I found it on open rent, called the landlord and spent time and discussing with them on their key challenges, their pain points, and really proposing possible solution for them. For instance, where he said, well, I have no time to manage this property and it has really become a hassle. Well, my response was, well, I can help here. I can do the interior of the property, I can furnish it myself, can maintain it to high standard, and then I will host professionals. I will host traveling NHS worker who really need the property. So you get paid every month and I'll handle everything, and your property will stay maintained to high standards. And he said yes. I signed a lease and I put about £6,000 to furnish the property, do the photos, set it all up, and I made that back in about 3 months. So that really proved that the model worked, and my business grew from there. So now I'll go into how rent-to-rent works. So rent-to-rent is about finding a property in an area that's high demand. That's number one, especially for it to work on an Airbnb, the demand must be there. Then I rent it from the landlord between 3 to 5 years, and I offer a guaranteed rent. I decorate, I furnish the property, and I list it on Airbnb. Add value in order to make that value back. So I list the property and I automate everything in the back end. Any profit is then reinvested to scale the business. All that whilst I'm working on my corporate job. So it's not passive at first, but it can become scalable if you do it right. So here's how you can go from 0 to actually several units and scale your portfolio of rent-to-rent Airbnb without spending too much time on the business. So after unit 1, I started making money and I reinvested it. As I said, I used the profit so I can fund the next unit. I didn't touch my personal income or my income from my job, but the key to scaling wasn't just the money, it was system. So what I did was I created template for landlords, pitched them systematically and using the same approach. I built a checklists for every setup. So for every setup, it became, the standardized approach to set up a property. I created automation as well for guest communication and for the cleaning. And then suddenly every unit got easier and easier. I wasn't reinventing the wheel. I was just applying and repeating a process that worked. That's how I've managed to scale. Here's something also that a lot of people get wrong at the very beginning. They try to do everything. The first 3 units, I made that mistake. I did it all myself. Apart from the professional picture, I was often, involved in the cleanings wherever needed. I was the one doing the guest messaging. I was dealing with late night questions and calling Airbnb or booking.com customer service quite late at night, dealing with booking issues. I did most of it myself, but wasn't sustainable. So I started finding another way, which was outsourcing everything. But that outsourcing started with having systems in place. So first, I hired the cleaners in the different area, then the handyman, again in each different area. And then I've a virtual assistant to manage the guests' communication and issues, and implemented as well a software for automations. So the biggest question that I get nowadays is, how did you manage to get all of those properties? Well, the answer is that I became more selective. Yes, I found a way to get the number of deals on a regular basis, but also I was looking for specific deal, high demand area. I was testing the numbers to my template, and I focused on properties that were in relatively good conditions, to be honest. I checked the comparable, and the real secret for me was that it was really all about the landlord. It was all about focusing on the value that I could deliver to them, and it was about helping them really, and deliver on my promise systematically. That's how I built the trust with them, and I got yes after yes. Also, another question that I get quite often is, are you not scared of the horror stories that we're hearing about Airbnb? About the bad parties, the guest parties, the damages that the guests make. So yes, that can happen, but there are things that you can implement so that it never actually happen. For example, I don't allow one night stays, so that really prevents the number of potential inquiries for parties. I always ask for a deposit, and I require the guest ID as well, and I check the positive reviews from that particular guest. I also have ring cameras on all of the properties, so I know who comes in and out, and also the noise monitor. So all of that are part of the systems. It's all automated, and that's what I teach to people who kind of work with me. So how I manage this with a 9 to 5, you will ask. I still work time, but I do both because I schedule my time. I schedule the time that I spend on the business on specific tasks, especially at the weekend, in terms of growing the business with the landlords. I have those discussions. I meet with potentially new landlords, but also existing landlords. I review pricing, the pricing strategy, manage the various listings, and make sure that the financials are still there and verify all of that. We have marketing calls as well on weekends. So I really schedule my time across specific tasks, but it doesn't take me more than 5 hours a week to manage everything around my 9 to 5. So today I have that rent-to-rent Airbnb portfolio. It generates a consistent monthly income and a monthly revenue. And now I'm helping investors, well, I should say, people who were in my shoes 5 years ago, who like me are still in that 9 to 5 job and they want to start their own short-term rental business and they don't know where to start. I also help landlords to systemize their business and their property portfolio. Some are with 1 unit, some with more, some with no unit, and I help them out get to that point. So here's what I want you to know overall following this video. You can start your own rent-to-rent Airbnb business, even with a 9 to 5, even with no property, even today. Start with 1 unit, learn the system because the systems are everything. And if you want help, check the link below and we can speak about how I can help you get to there faster as well. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. And if you have any question, put some comment below and I will read every single one. Thank you.